What is up, responsible day traders? Today is Friday. It's February 11th, 2022. I'm Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. Today's not my typical video. You will only see me catch 7 points today. So I started a little bit pre-market. I know I have a meeting very, very soon. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. I have the vault on a 45% discount right now, and I wanted you to see the kind of things that you get and understand in the vault. The videos are typically a couple of hours long, and we don't, sometimes they're an hour, sometimes they're 2 hours. So I wanted to kind of compact everything I do in that into I think this is about 45 minutes maybe, and really talk to you about how I'm reading the market and what I'm seeing and the type of things that you get out of being in the vault. So you do see me take 2 trades. I manage them very, very quickly, in and out, in and out. The market is flying to the upside now, but you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. I got some things to do, and if I can come back to it later, then I can. If not, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day. If you've got questions over it, let me know. Don't forget the vault, 45% off. Use the code BDAY45 because it was my birthday last week. It was this week. It was a couple days ago. Anyways, can you tell I'm in a great mood today? I got a lot of energy. I'm feeling amazing. So, all right. I hope everybody's wonderful. If you got questions, let me know. And as always, enjoy the show. All right, folks. I have a meeting at 9 a.m. and it's 7:45, so we're going to do some quick early morning trading and pray that it works out. So let's take a look at the daily chart first. Daily chart, what do you know? We're still stuck between these areas. I do like the fact that these are leading just a little bit higher each time. One of the issues that I'm having is that we haven't broken out of that Bollinger Band. And so while it's really attempting to make the push back up, we're still stuck between these areas. And even though we're getting blue BBs, we still haven't broken out of the Bollinger Band. Do I anticipate it to happen? I kind of do. But we may see it pull back down here before it does. So we're just going to have to watch and see. Right now, we're leading just a little bit higher each time with these lows of each day. And I mean, like you can see here, a little bit higher, about equal right in here. It is making the attempt to push back up, and we are just stuck between these areas. What's making me really have this, I think it's going to continue up, is it's making these really hard pushes to the downside, and we stop on a dime right here. Now, we've made a couple of decent pushes to the upside right in here, but we had a whole long way getting there. And did it stop on a dime? Yeah, kind of did here. But I just really have more anticipations of this going up and down, and that may just be in my head. If we look at the 10,946, nice strong push off the area. Got back above everything on the 1597 and the 233, which says more up. We are making the attempt to get back up above the 0 line and the EMAs on the 10946, although we are not above them yet. I got to log my food this morning. I gave myself a brain freeze with my smoothie. Okay. Now, why it's pulling back to the EMA and does look like more up. We saw that same thing right here. I'm gonna have to let that one go if it does. Put my glasses on so I can see properly. Finish my smoothie. I love the way the 10946 is just like nothing but up. What are we at with our, just making sure, 4 contracts. I'm cold. Turn my heater on up here. Where's my remote for it? I think I'm gonna give this one a quick shot. Go right behind here. We're gonna give it the extra 2 ticks. 2 right there. I just like the way that this is pulled back several times, hasn't crossed the bottom Bollinger Band and kept up. I really should have been this a little bit sooner. I was just kind of a little more uncomfortable, but hey, you know what? And I'm looking for it to go up around the 14 area. So I'm going to move this one up. I like to be on those even numbers. And we'll go ahead and move this one up just a little bit too. And we'll just be prepared if this pushes off of this area to bring it back in. But I really like the strength that we're seeing on the 10946. What I want to do is just pull this up here a little bit, but I'm not going to just yet. There we go. I'm going to spread this out a little. I like this little bar and the keep pushing up, but it's not super convincing. So I'm just not giving it too much space if it decides to pull back. Like, we may see something a little along the lines of this, and I may not love the fact that I moved my risk up. I'm going to go ahead and close it out as we got this reversal bar and it's pushing down. Still outside of the Bollinger Bands here, so this will probably continue up. It's all right. I don't mind starting my day with a win, no matter how small it is. It's just this little bit of a struggle to pull out here. We're still leading a little bit lower than that last pivot. So I just wanted to be cautious. Yeah. And I'd have been all right staying in that one. Just the pre-morning jitters. The market doesn't open for about another 30-40 minutes. I would have been good keeping my risk right behind here. It's me trading that 233 lens. Just pay attention. you know what I didn't pay attention to? What are these? 28,657 MACD. Oh, phew. Those are popping up with quite a bit of strength. There's only 1,500 ticks left here. I'm curious, so we are well below the zero line, so it'd be great to see if this just does a strong punch to the upside. Leading a little bit lower here. This may have been the better signal for me to wait for it to get out. Ooh, that's a big pop down. Alexa, turn off the office lights. I don't need them on right now. It's so bright in here. Okay. Thank you. So it's set up again at the EMA on the 233 right here. I'm not going to take that one just as it's just a little bit tougher each time to take it. Not a bad idea though. Now we're 3 points away, so can't really hop into that one. Little bit of a struggle to pull up here as these are still rolling down, so if I had gotten into one, I'd definitely be considering exiting at this point. We've still got strength to the upside of the MACDs here. Let's see if they're still popping up. Have we gotten to the end of that bar? Yeah. Still nice strength to the upside here, but as we're coming into the EMAs, this BB could pull back in and roll over, because remember, these are live BB dots, which means we're watching them move as the price is moving. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a cold going on. I'm going to mute this for just a moment while I blow my nose. Okay, just remember to unmute it is the only thing. Still sitting at the bottom. Bollinger Band hasn't crossed it, but I don't think I'm willing to try and mess around and find out. Okay, might go up still. there's a mite. Now I gotta step away for just a minute, so I'm just gonna let this run. They're just two little people out there talking. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Okay. It's a good thing I walked away because this isn't giving us a whole lot, right? And so what it does is it makes us all, are we trying to get into things that aren't there? I mean, this definitely, it's giving you that feel of, oh my gosh, we're sitting at that area. It's just waiting for me to take the long, but that's the trap because look at the MACDs. They're pulling down right now. Yes, this is still going up, but we need to wait for it to tell us that it is looking to go in that direction. And now it's trying to pop up. Here we go. So it popped up a little bit, but I mean, still look at these MACDs, still outside, still below. Okay, this might be the weak pullback that pushes up, but it might be. So you can see, and what happens to a lot of traders is that when you see this and then it pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, you get in here because you feel like, oh, it's finally starting to go in your favor. And I even said it too, like, look, oh, this might be it. But by this time, you can't get in because then your risk will be too much at risk. Kind of like I did here, it popped up real quick and I got in. And you can see immediately that pull back down. What was the sign? Okay, what was the sign? We had reversal bars here. We had the MACDs breaking the bottom Bollinger Band. We had lots of distance to run back to the EMAs. That was the sign of you need to wait. Now, do we think this is going to continue up? Yes. Why? Because of the strength of the MACDs here. So far, they're weak coming back to the downside. And hey, it may pop up from right here and continue up. Am I going to take it? Heck no. Why? Because the conditions aren't right for it. The conditions are awful. So you can see that it's pulled back here again, right? And now the MACDs are really picking up the pace to the downside on the 233. And we can see the strength picking up to the downside on the 1597. And guys, when I'm narrating like this, it's easier for me to talk it through than actually trade it. So I'm okay with missing days trading, just talking you through these kind of things. And we'll have more and more of these in the vault, okay? Now, these have not necessarily pulled together. So my anticipations are to pull back a little bit further maybe down towards this EMA, which is 44.94, right about just a little bit above where this EMA is here, and potentially push back higher. Why are my anticipations like that? Well, 28,657 broke up pretty hard to the upside. Now, there's 20,000 ticks left on this. This BB can pull down, roll down, but with this particular look coming off the area with so much strength, and not just the price, but in the MACDs, with the weak EMAs coming to the downside, that's usually a sign that we're going to break through this area. Are we going to do that right now? Heck no, because we still have a few things going against that. Let me come back to this really quick still. It's the fact that we're way below the EMAs. We're early on into this. So maybe it pulls back a little bit and pushes up, kind of like what we saw in these previous bars. And that's the nature of the game, right? It pulls back, it pushes up, gives you reversal bars, makes you think it's going to go in that direction, and then everything else says, wait, it's not time. So MACDs are outside of the Bollinger Bands here and pushing down. So even though we have this area where a lot of people get confused, and I really feel like, those who are fairly new or really just thinking about the money, are really anticipating, are really just trying to make things happen, this would be your long trade right here. You see the reversal bars at the EMA and you say, here's my opportunity. And you know what? There's a chance that it could go up from there. Absolutely. It's an area anticipated to create a bounce with MACDs semi-strong to the upside on our bigger charts. But what are the odds? Okay. Look at what's happening here. The MACDs are still outside of the Bollinger Bands. They haven't even rolled in yet. The MACDs are not only outside of the Bollinger Bands on the 1597, they are outside with strength. Let's say you're looking at the 610 tick chart. Let me pull that over. Okay, because some of you are using the 610 tick chart. MACDs are still strong to the downside. So maybe we see that bounce eventually from the 92, the 94 as we were speaking. It's all right in the area of, and let me just put a circle around here and show how they all just kind of line up around the same spot, right? The circle looks huge here, but they all line up around the same spot of that little EMA right there, okay? So those are things that we want to keep in perspective. Now on the 610, that is that EMA right there. Let's pull over the 4181 really quick so we can just take a little bit look at that, right? Remember, this EMA right here is the EMA right here. Okay, so if it pulls back into those areas, we'll be back above the zero line here. We will see these EMAs pull in a little bit more. And I know you can't see the top of my chart. I'm sorry, let me pull this down. You'll see these EMAs pull in a little bit more. We'll be above the zero line here. I didn't realize it was completely, I forget that you can't see the rest of my screen, but I make this so it's palatable for myself. Because if it's too big, the bars are too big. I sometimes even like it a little bit smaller because it just feels more compact and rounded and easier to understand. Okay, so that's just talking about those EMAs lining up where we can anticipate the next bounce to possibly happen if this one doesn't work out. So some of you may be in this trade right now and thinking, okay, let's just say that you took the long trade. And if I remember, I need to start remembering my hotkeys. Jason would be so proud of me hearing me say that. So we're just going to use the triangle up and triangle down. Alt F8, Alt F9. Please try and remember that, Lindsay. Let's just say you got in here, okay? Which is 02. We're going to be kind of quick about this. Let's say we got in an 0175, and then you've got the 2-point risk. And so this is, in my mind, working with 2 points from now on, because that's kind of what I work with from now on. Now look what's happening. It's pulling back. Right now, you are stressing out. And if you're not holding on, or if you are holding on, you're holding on for a losing trade, because the MACDs are still showing strength down here. This is not our trading chart. Whatever chart you have on your right-hand side should not be your trading chart, or whatever chart you have is your small chart. It's just confirmation, right? So when we see the setup here, we're confirming it here. And if we try to see the setup here without confirming it here, then we don't pay attention to what the bigger picture is telling us, and we're trying to force things to happen. Okay, so we saw what happened. It barely pulled back and then boom, pushed to the downside. Now, could you take that as a short trade? I'd actually be a little more comfortable taking that as a short trade than a long trade, because the way it pulls back, especially if your mindset's in the right place, because we were talking about our mindset not being in the right place here. So especially if your mindset's in the right place and you're seeing that it's pulling back and that we have room to run to the next area, which is that 93, 94 area, then you are taking this short. But you're managing it in a way that you are not trying to hold for this to go all the way back down. So if you started off with your risk back here, then you're moving it here. And you're moving it even possibly right here before it pushes down, because there is really no saying when this can stop on the way down after these stronger moves to the upside. Okay. So we want to just be paying attention that if this pulls back up, we're out of it, right? We're not going to wait. And if it pulls back up and takes you out and gives you another opportunity to push down, then you look for that and you take that as well. I'm going to be careful not to delete my bars. I've done it several times. But currently right now, we still see strength to the downside. Now, here's another reason of cutting this short. What do we see here? MACDs still semi have strength to the upside. So we don't want to just assume that because the 1597 is showing us strength down, that everything else is going to fall into line. Okay. All right. So we see it pulling back up a little bit here on the 233. And had we put our risk, had we moved it down? So technically, if we're working with a market that's going in our direction, or if we're working with a market that we know has potential for a strong move, you would not move this risk down so quickly. You would wait until it gives you a pullback and then pushes beyond this point before you move the risk down. But because we've had a fairly strong move to the upside, we want to be a little more cautious with where our risk can or should be. Did I put an up arrow there? Oh yeah, because I was talking about the potential for the long there. I'll just delete that too. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about like how you keep yourself out of this long, but in that talk, I missed the how do you get yourself into the short. These are still picking up the pace. So then you decide, am I getting back in right here? Right now, it gives you great opportunity for a point in risk. And then you can, it'll put you in at, 2 points if you're using the same risk to reward ratio that I do, and the possible 2.5 at the most. But let's say we got in right now. Okay. And so our risk is back above here. I need to really learn these. Our MACDs are still pushing strong to the downside. I mean, and technically our risk can be, if we are looking at getting in, let's see, 99.25, 0.25, 125. But now here's the thing, right? I'm still anticipating this move to go up. So I'm being very cautious and I'm not letting it sit at the big area. So I keep it here. I'm wondering when this is going to die out to the downside. Are we going to reach the EMAs and pop back up really, really quickly? And if we are, I don't want to have a lot of risk on this trade. Okay. Now I'm watching the MACDs here as I'm at the area. We still have the strength down. They're still pulling outside. As you can see, these BBs have pulled together. Let's just take a quick peek. I don't want to stay on it too long, but I like to bring up the 28,657 and say, do we still have that massive strength that we saw earlier to the upside? And, you know, you can see the distance between these BBs and it's shortened. It's gotten smaller because we did have a lot more distance between that BB in the beginning. This is something I'm going to work on, guys. I'm going to work on this so we can do live classes like this and I can trade as well. But, you know, maybe I just take one day a week and we just talk through it like this. I mean, it'll do nothing but improve my own trading as well, right? Okay, so what I'm looking at here is if you were in the short trade right about now, you're getting very close to that break even sense, right? Because this is where you were for what's considered a break even. Now, that's not where my stop is right now. It would be back here, but I would definitely be considering, you know, maybe taking a break even +1, getting out of this as this BB is starting to roll to the upside and pop up. These BBs are pulling a little bit together. So what I would be anticipating is to see this give another pullback, probably a little bit deeper. This is really where our last bar was, which is we can actually do a I think I can make it. I mean, I know I can make it happen on all charts. So this is where our last pullback was, right here. So that's where we're like, okay, is it going to pull back to there? Remember, that's just where we got in. Our risk would still be back here if we chose to take this pullback potential. Okay. Now, if you're in this and you see this little bit of a pullback and it's starting to roll down here off the MACDs and push down, then once it pushes down past this area, you can feel comfortable moving your wrist down. And especially with, as I spoke of before, managing this wrist to where you're maybe keeping it much tighter as it's pulling back after we've seen these moves to the upside. Now look at these BBs picking up that pace to the downside. We're pulling right into that area that we discussed just a few minutes ago. And I don't like to leave drawings on my charts because it makes me tied down to what I saw there. And that's what I used to do where I worked before. We would leave the drawings on the charts and you'd go back and look and say, oh, but I had divergence. It pushed it on the other side. No. And we didn't even discuss the divergence happening between these pivots, right? There was some major divergence, which did say it was going to pull back. I just didn't anticipate it to pull back this far. Okay, so we're getting into that first area to create a bounce. MACDs are still outside of the Bollinger Bands here. It's not far off from the EMAs on the 1597, and we didn't reach them the prior time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we reach that area. Now, in the spirit of being a little bit conservative with this risk, I'm moving the risk down, and we'll even make this red so it looks more like a risk, and it'll work. And now I'm seeing these BBs getting wider and wider as we're getting down towards this area. I do still have strength in the MACDs to the downside, but we still have 500 ticks left. That can start to die out as we're getting closer to the zero line. Right now, it still has a lot of strength, so I'm not entirely sure I'm going to expect these BBs to pop up enough to come back to my risk, but I am going to move my risk in probably a little bit tighter at this time. Because if it does pop out, pop up, I don't want to be in it. This may even be a place that you're considering, do I want to close out this trade? Now, this is an extremely tight risk. To have just a little bit less, maybe right below where this bar shot down and pulled back. But look at what we're seeing, a potential for a really nice reversal bar. It's a close reversal bar. It closed at that high or at that close before, right? Closed right at that close. The real reversal bar is on the third bar, seeing what that behavior is going to be. Is it going to pull back up and push up in the opposite direction? MACDs are still outside of the Bollinger Bands. We haven't slowed down, but we're moving in towards the zero line. And these BBs that were really, really far apart before are kind of squished in together. So we're going to see, is this going to roll down from here and continue down and give us maybe a bit of divergence? Because we don't even have divergence in our 233 MACDs just yet, but we do have those white BBs down here. So if you're being extremely cautious, you're moving your wrist down right behind here. It is at a space that it could get hit being right behind there, considering that, well, you did get the tiny little BB, but considering that we haven't really had the slowdown in the roll yet, right? So if you're being extra cautious, you're moving it there. If you're being not cautious at all, your risk is still back up here. That's a good, to me, coming into EMAs that are showing strength to the upside, that's not the place to be. And we're creating a little bit of a ceiling here, but look what's happening. Creating a little bit of ceiling, it's like almost like strength as it's got a nice sharp angle to the upside. BBs are not slowing down just yet, but we still haven't even rolled inside with the 10,946. And then I just kind of like to reference the 28,657. Ooh, these are really starting to get closer and closer together. Maybe pull back and give us a bit of a head and shoulders back in this area. So just watching and seeing. And like I said, I'm probably somewhere in this arena with my risk, and I'm like weird about even numbers. So we were talking about getting in right here around 99. I'd probably be about 97 with my risk right now, especially with the way these BBs are looking like they're trying to pop up. I may be even hitting close at this moment and saying, I'm good. I can see these BBs breaking out of that Bollinger Band. I mean, you still have 147, 46, 42 ticks left on this particular bar. So that's why a lot of times I'll just move it 2 ticks behind the area and say, okay, well, if it pulls back behind here, I don't want to be in the trade anyways, right? Where I originally had it was right here. But here's another thing. This is why I don't typically move my risk in a stronger move. Like in a, had I not been going right into an EMA, I may have not moved my risk immediately. And that's because I want to wait till it pushes down below that previous area that we saw right in here. I want to see it push down below here and close below here before I move my risk. Because then what it does is it allows for a little bit of a pullback and then pushing. And then you get stopped out quite frequently in that manner. But I have low trust on this area. So I probably would have been stopped out with just a little bit of profit, or I would have been, or I would have hit the close button. I mean, I can't say because I'm not in the trades, but you've seen me, you've seen my trades and the way that I trade. And so this is the thought process that goes through my head as this is happening, okay? So now it's pulled back into the EMAs. We've broken back above the Bollinger Band, and in reality, was the trade to take? Being as right here, we had a nice little reversal bar. It's not a bad idea, but I want some extra confirmation. So I want to kind of get back above this area, pull back into it. I mean, you do have a little bit of strength picking up here. And with how much this pulled back, these BBs didn't pull back enough to say, yeah, it's turning right now. We are getting a slowdown at the zero line, but not in such a way that it looks like it's going to roll just yet. Can it? Absolutely. It can do whatever it wants because this is the market, right? But this is what I'm seeing, and this is how I'm reading it. Sorry, I got some messages coming in, and I have a meeting in 30 minutes. So I just want to kind of walk you through some of the things that we talk about whenever. I mean, and this is probably a little more in depth than I usually do, and I'm wonderfully willing to do these maybe once a week and put them into the vault. There was one in the vault yesterday. You know what? Today I'll put this one I'll put this one on YouTube, and you're going to see it as it is. And you can see the kind of information that goes into the vault. So, I mean, I took one trade today, right here, right there. Definitely late on it because I'm using that buy button. So it didn't have my risk where I wanted it. A little bit of an early exit. I think I got 5 points. Let me see. I'll pull it over. Yeah, I got 5 points. Whoop-de-doo! Which is okay. I'm fine with that. And I may come back and trade later on this afternoon. I have a meeting in 30 minutes, then another meeting after that, then a doctor's appointment for the kid. So, you know, it just may not be in the stars for me today. I may just take that little bit of profit and be all right with it. I kind of want to talk you through what's happening here, but my phone is telling me I got a lot going on. Oh, and the market's opening right now? Yes. Okay. Looking at how weekly these are pulling up right now, I don't know that I would expect it to quite make a new high, but we may see this pull back and not see a strong pullback and it continue up. No, I mean not see a strong pullback in the MACDs and it continue up. Love the way these have stayed out and pushed up. So there's opportunity everywhere. There was the opportunity to the downside, but you can see it kept me out of the mindset to the long side. Here's that weaker pullback right into the EMA. Is too big of a risk to be able to put it in right now, especially with the way that the MACDs haven't quite crossed up, although I think they're about to. Yeah, so that would have been a decent area to get back in depending on what kind of risk that you use. We still see the strength going up on the 10,946. And MACDs did not slow down at all. I spaced even then. This was pre-market, but that's okay. Ooh, now looky there. We're about to get the potential for divergence as we reach that EMA, or we reach that previous price area, and the MACDs are leading a lot lower. We're getting those white BBs, so seeing the potential for it pulling back a little bit. If I happened to be in one of these long trades, I'd be thinking about taking an exit. The MACDs are getting a little bit white, although, man, on that 10,946, they are still strong up. So what does that say? That says it gives the potential for pullback. And pullback doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to continue all the way down to this EMA and push through it. although it may, but it means that, if you're in the long trade here, anticipate the movement back down. Think about where your risk needs to be. Move it up into areas that may, had you been in the long trade, let's say you got him back here, you're kind of being a little more cautious with your risk and moving it up a little bit. And you can see now the strength of the pullback. We didn't even get outside of the Bollinger Bands, and it's pulling back a little bit deeper now, and MACDs are slowing down again. And you can see we ended up with divergence between the price and the MACDs here, like big time divergence, not just kind of a little bit of divergence here. We still saw the price go down on MACDs, or the MACDs go down and the price go up. Here we go. We saw a little bit of pullback here. Oh no, it's not quite it. You still have strength to the upside here, and that what we'd want to see is breaking back above these Bollinger Bands and pulling back into them. And so this might be the breakout that we're looking for right here as it broke back above. We did have a nice little reversal bar, so it gave us a second opportunity right in here. And I don't know what I guess I don't have any drawing tools there. The hard part is we haven't broken back above the Bollinger Bands here. So just managing your risk back behind these areas as it's making little bits of new highs. Tiny little bar. And rolling inside of the Bollinger Bands, pushing back down. Still haven't broken back below this little bit of an area, but it looks like we're going to, the way that this is rolling inside. Reversal bars slowing down. Yeah, there we go. That divergence really pushing it back. So at this point, we've got a little bit of scenario number 2 where we're continuing to make divergences after the initial divergence. I've got a meet. Oh God, I want to trade, but I got a meeting in 20 minutes, and this is more important to be able to just talk you through what's happening here and understand what what the vault's meant for. And I'm also proving to myself, can I do these classes again? It's been a long time since I've done these classes. All right, man, we have got so much strength pushing to the downside. Look how this popped in. Let's look at, I just like to do the quickest review of the 28,657. MACD slowing down a little bit as we reached that EMA area and starting to pull down, but we'll have to see. Looks like the strength is trying to push to the downside, but not quite making it there. Oh yeah, there it goes. I'm just looking at how these MACDs are not reaching that bottom Bollinger Band, even on the 233, as we're pulling into this area, which says that we're going to get a push back to the upside, which we did. Got back up there, reversal bars pushed it back down. It's moving so fast, it's hard for me to keep up with telling you what's happening. We're rolling inside here very weakly so far on the 10,946 for how big of a move this is, but it doesn't mean that it can't pick up the pace. Our BBs are starting to get white on the 1597 as we're reaching the EMA areas and slowing down. Oh, nice big divergence here through these pivots as it's popping up. I think it's going to come back up a little bit and then really make the attempt to push back down. So there's the reversal bar. Is this the pushback down? These BBs are still in the same situation. They're white, but they're still outside. And it's trying on the 233 to show us that it's going to pull back. But remember, if we let that 233 rule us, we get ourselves run over. Because technically by the 1597, we are still in an uptrend. By the 10,946, we are still in a downtrend. We're inside of the EMAs, but we're above the zero line. Here we're inside of the EMAs, but we're below the zero line. This says that we still have a trend to the downside. This says we've shifted it to the upside. I think we have a better chance of getting back above these EMAs than getting back below this Bollinger Band. So I really see more of a potential move to the upside, but it's going to be a little bit hard to break through this large EMA that has been, spread apart and pushing to the downside. We had a nice reversal bar here. It'd be a little late to take the entry because you'd be about 3 or 4 points in the risk at that moment. And really the low is back here, right? If we had been crossed above the Bollinger Band here and shown some strength up, it'd feel a lot more comfortable taking that, but we don't see that. And we're already starting to weaken the MACDs here. It pulled back. Reversal bars down, reversal bars up. So which one's going to win out? I had to drink some water. Looks like the one that should win out's winning out, the 1597. But man, look at the way that popped back. Gave you, I love this when this happens, okay? When it pulls down, closes hard at the bottom, and then boom, turns around and closes hard to the upside. MACDs couldn't even break that bottom Bollinger Band when that happened. We're still above the 0 line here. But here's that pullback we were talking about just a while ago. I said, man, it might just pull back. And I'm looking at this in particular, how we may see this just push back down. We haven't really pulled away from the EMAs. Yes, we have this close back above the EMA, but to pull away, we're going to separate from it and pull away. And then we'll see, like it did here on the 233. But remember, 233 is not in charge, y'all. It is really trying to convince us that there's a long trade happening right now, with the just sitting at this area. But look at the MACDs, even right here, still pushing down, trying to roll to the downside here. Just kind of watching for a minute. Okay, I gotta go in about 5 minutes because I gotta prepare for this meeting. This is fun. I haven't done this in a long time. I mean, yes, I do talk about this stuff whenever I'm trading, but I don't talk about every move, because if I talk about every move, I may convince myself to take every move. So I do talk about what's happening and why I'm not taking certain trades, but probably not quite this much in depth. It's been a bit of a while. There was a nice reversal bar with the MACD still outside, but it's a little bit of a struggle. Struggle doesn't mean can't come up with strength, right? No pressure, no diamonds. Lord have mercy, I want a short right here. But right back into those areas that was holding before, that we were quote unquote concerned with holding before. Just kind of watch it for a minute, leading higher, pushing up, reversal bars pushing up. It's really attempting to move to the upside. One more quick look. How's that? 28,657. Okay. They're still below the 0 line. They've started to slow down just a little bit. They are still outside, but I think we're going to see this push down, and I think we're seeing it happen now. My 2 ticks here. I'm going to be ready to close if this doesn't follow through. Oh, I don't like this crosshairs being on here. Okay, I'm staying very cautious. Be ready to close if it doesn't follow through. I'm looking at these 233 MACDs and they're struggling to go through right now. Okay. Because I have a meeting in a few minutes and I'm not feeling like I'm on top of my game. Just pulling it down really tight. Okay. Yeah, it didn't push through here either. Popping back up to the upside. I think I'm just trying to take things because I want to be in this after watching it for so long. Nice little reversal bar, trying to push up. Okay, so this will probably be my least amount of points made in a while. We're at 7 though. Hey, you know what? Staying back above here, I would have still been in this, but I'm not trusting it a whole lot right now. So if my risk was still back above here, I would still be in this trade, but I moved it down really quickly, and I'm really starting to see that I don't believe this is going to push through to the downside. But that's how we manage our risk whenever these things are happening and it's tight and you're not sure. You don't just hold your risk in that big old area. And if it gives you another opportunity, then awesome, right? I mean, look how flat those BBs are and the prices. It's going to bust out one way or another. But I'm not going to be here to see it. So I want to stay and watch it, but I got things to do. All right, guys, let me go ahead and turn on some lights in here. That's going to wrap it up. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed my narration through this. I will make a commitment to make something like this a couple of times, at least once a week, so we can just talk through what's happening. Doesn't mean I'll be trading, but it means I'll be doing what I've committed to do, which is to help you understand how to read this market a little bit clearer. Do I have to jump through from one chart to another to really read it together? It's a book. You don't read one page of a book and understand the story. You have to really go through and read and analyze to know what's going on. And there's twists and turns and all that jazz, but we're going to go ahead and wrap that up. Meeting in 15 minutes. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And as always, you know that I look forward to catching you on the profitable side.